6-3 decision, the Supreme Court ruled that presidents have absolute immunity from federal prosecution for official acts, but not for unofficial acts. Who determines what's official? Take us through the ramifications for Trump's federal cases.
Yes, Linda, this is a sweeping decision by the Supreme Court, not unexpected by most legal experts. It gives a president, and in this particular case, Donald Trump, broad immunity from things that were never, ever established under the law. There was never, ever in our judicial system, in our legal jurisprudence, the kind of immunity granted to a president such as what has been ruled by this Supreme Court today. Essentially, this court stated that conversations that Donald Trump had with any executive branch employees or executive branch members, such as his vice president, then Mike Pence, are absolutely immune. That would mean even conversations he had with then Attorney General Jeff Clark. We know that conversations with Jeff Clark are part of the indictment that was brought by Special Counsel Jack Smith. Under this ruling by the Supreme Court, pretty much any conversations had with those executive branch members enjoy presidential immunity. And that is, again, a sweeping development, a paradigm shift, a change in the relationship that the president has with the American people. It is, as Trump has said, a victory for him. And beyond the substantive ruling, Linda, this case will delay, seemingly beyond the November election, any prospect of a trial of this matter at the district court level, because the court essentially remanded the case back to the district court to hold what will essentially be many trials on all of the factual allegations in the indictment.
And Ariva, it was interesting listening to Justice Sonia Sotomayor's in her dissent, where she listed examples where the president would be immune from prosecution. She said ordering the Navy SEAL Team 6 to kill a political rival would mean the president's immune. Ordering a coup to hold on to power, again, immune. She predicts disastrous consequences.
Yes, and those that may think she's exaggerating or using hyperbole, I don't think so. I think what we've seen from this court is a willingness, this 6-3 majority conservative court, a court that was carefully curated by Donald Trump when he was in office, is willing to stretch the boundaries of the law in order to, in many ways, advance a Republican agenda, a conservative agenda. Donald Trump brags about the fact that he hand-selected these justices so that they could do exactly what they're doing, which is delivered to him win after win after win. And you have to look at this case, Linda, in the context of what happened on Friday, when this court essentially said a federal obstruction statute could not be used to prosecute those individuals who we witnessed with our very eyes storm and break into the Capitol, those insurrectionists. Also another victory for Donald Trump and those who have been held accountable for their conduct on January 6th.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I have to ask you, like, historically, what this sort of a decision would have meant for someone like former President Richard Nixon, who famously said, when the president does it, that means that it's not illegal. He said that to British journalist David Frost. What would a ruling like this have meant for Nixon? Would it have given him a pass?
Absolutely. And it seems like Richard Nixon was foretelling the future. We didn't imagine, I think those of us that work, as lawyers, as judges, work in the legal profession, could not have ever imagined that a president, a sitting president, could be immune from criminal activity. That, as Donald Trump once said, that he could shoot someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue and not face any consequences. This Supreme Court, according to that dissent from Judge Sonia Sotomayor, pretty much agrees with that prediction. Donald Trump, according to this opinion, pretty much is above the law. Again, to think that the comments that he made, the conversations, the statements that he made, even if those statements involve arranging or conspiring to commit criminal acts, this court says he enjoys immunity from prosecution.
Frightening. Ariva Martin in Los Angeles, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Lynda.